Questions 1 to 4.
You will hear an interview with a woman called Marta Stanston, who runs a mobile restaurant that she sets up in different places.
Today I'm talking to Marta Stanston, who runs her own mobile restaurant. Marta, how did you get into the restaurant business?
Well, I learnt to cook at college. I always wanted to open my own restaurant, but had no money, so I got a job as a chef. I had all sorts of ideas for new dishes, which the staff thought would sell, but the guy who owned the place wasn't interested. That's when a friend told me about the mobile restaurant idea. It sounded great.
Tell us about it.
Well, it works like this. You decide on a menu. Obviously, you have to be able to cook. Then you advertise it, so people can book a meal. The most amazing thing is all the advertising's done through social networking websites. People set up tables in their sitting room, or in a city car park, an empty factory, anywhere in fact. And because you know how many people you're cooking for, food doesn't get wasted.
So, why was it good for you?
Well, various reasons. Like, I could buy all the ingredients without risk because you make customers pay in advance. The greatest advantage, though, is by having a maximum of 10 customers, I didn't need to hire a waiter. Then, of course, I could prepare everything at home. Just take a camping gas cooker with me, plus some plates, glasses, knives and forks.
Do you never run into problems?
The whole experience is fun. People watch you cook and the atmosphere's relaxed. I did one meal on a beach which almost went wrong because I didn't think about the wind blowing sand into people's food. Fortunately, I'd brought a large umbrella to protect myself from the sun, so I put it around their table instead.
And you sometimes use your own flat?
If the weather's bad, people come to my home instead, but it gets very crowded. Even though I've actually got enough chairs and a big table, it's not ideal. I was worried we might disturb the neighbours, but they've been all right about it. I love the temporary feel of the mobile idea, so home's not really what it's about.
So, what's the future of mobile restaurants?
Questions 5 to 8.
You will hear an interview with a young man called Jack Salter, who has won a photography competition.
Jack Salter is a young Canadian who has just won the Young Photographer of the Year competition. Jack, is that right? You started out taking photos of street signs?
That's right. I've been serious about photography for about a year, maybe a year and a half, but I've been taking photos ever since I was little. I probably first picked up a camera when I was about 7 and went around taking photos of street signs of all shapes and sizes. My mother tells me it was all down to my being attracted to the bright colours. I guess she's right.
Can you tell me a little about the winning photograph?
It was the first day of dry weather for a while, and I decided to go out and play around with some new kit for my camera. I started off in my own yard. There wasn't much to photograph, though, until this butterfly happened to land on a large flower. And fortunately, I was able to get what turned out to be the prize-winning photo.
Were you happy with the photograph?
I was lucky, actually, because on the camera screen, the butterfly didn't look terribly amazing. I could see that it was in a great position, and the background scene was nice and clear, but you couldn't see the pattern on its wings because of the size of the screen. It was only when I saw the picture on the computer that I realized how good it was.
What do you think of the other photos from the competition?
I've seen the work on display with mine, and the standard is hard to believe. There are photos of animals and plants from all over the world, and you can see the work of photographers from places as far apart as Russia and Australia.
Has anything changed for you since winning the competition?
That's a hard question. Before winning, I'd been concentrating mainly on taking photos of people, although after coming to London for the exhibition and talking to all the other photographers, I intend to get more into doing shots of landscapes in different countries.
Do you have any advice for young people starting out in photography?
Questions 9 through 12.
You will hear part of a radio interview in which Tina White, a magazine editor, talks about her life and work.
Tina White, some people describe you as the best magazine editor in the world, and you're only in your 30s. Can you tell us how you started your amazing career?
Well, when I was 20, still at college, I was asked to write a weekly column for a local paper. The paper had wanted me to write about famous people, their wonderful lifestyles, the sort of thing people like to read about. Instead, what I did was to concentrate on people who the general public didn't know, but who had something original to say.
And you got away with it. Now, at that early stage, your family was important. How far did they influence your career choice?
My father was a film producer, and my childhood was spent around international actors and directors, so with such influences, I should have become an actress, something my father would have loved. But no, I chose to be a journalist in spite of the wishes of my family. I think the biggest influence was my school. Not so much the people, but the materials it gave me access to. The hours and hours spent in the library.
From being a journalist, you then went on to become an editor. I understand the first magazine you edited, Female Focus, wasn't much of a success.
Well, I was the editor for a year and then I resigned, mainly because of disagreements with the owners. They were reluctant to change things because they had faith it would eventually make a profit. But when you think of it, the magazine had been losing millions of pounds a year before I became its editor. When I left, it was still losing money, but nothing like as much as previously. Also, when I took over, it was selling around 650,000 copies. That soon increased to 800,000, so it was certainly an improvement.
It's said that you work very hard because you don't trust your employees.
That was the case 5 years ago when I was appointed. It almost drove me mad. I knew I had the right idea, for example, but I wasn't able to get it done because I didn't have the brilliant writers I have now, or the right staff to read all the material when it came in. I had to read everything about 6 times, and that was awful. It took me 4 years to put together the team I wanted, and it would be very unfair to say I don't trust them.
Do you sometimes worry that you might lose your fame and wealth?
This is the end of part 2.